SG501 sculpting medium is a dimensional glaze that produces a white, raised surface. You can think of this as a thin, spackling material that can be applied different ways. It has a smooth surface, and as you can see, it is somewhat translucent when applied over other glazes. Medium is non-toxic, as you can see by the AP seal, but because of these surface characteristics, it is not recommended for dinnerware. Because of the textured surface, you can use a sponge, detailed bottle, palette knife, stencil, or even a brush to apply sculpting medium for beautiful fired finishes. Sculpting medium is sensitive to thicker applications. Creating a layer that is over 1/8 of an inch may result in splits or cracks appearing in the fired surface. This may be an effect you intentionally wish to achieve, but if not, keep the thickness below 1/8 of an inch. As you can see, sculpting medium can be used with many other glazes. The base glaze properties can impact your final surface. Applied over a moving glaze will cause the sculpting medium design to move and separate. This example shows that sculpting medium may shrink during the firing process, creating an outline or a bit of a halo around the image. Look at the apple. There's a halo around it. This can be an added benefit or bonus to your design. This is a beautiful example of using brush strokes called glaze embroidery with sculpting medium. Placing sculpting medium in a writer tip bottle and then drawing down the lines adds some dimension with the element glazes on this gourd. Sculpting medium on the background and stroke and coat over it gives this a very Tuscan and rustic look. Sculpting medium is non-toxic, and you can see the AP seal. Intentionally designed as a 0.6 glaze, you can also fire it to cone 6, and the label shows you that it'll possibly turn glossy. This is an example of a tile chip at cone 6, and it's glossy with a little crazing. By using a brush, you can create specific dimensional designs and give it a painterly effect. If you get a little drip or drab here and there, just take a palette knife and lift it off. The fence on this has been brushed on with sculpting medium to give it some texture. The same palette knife is awesome for creating an impasto or a very textured background. You can also use a sponge to give it a little bit different texture than how the palette knife does. You can just scoop it up, lightly dab it on. You can see if it's thicker in some areas or thinner, but there's a very different texture as opposed to the smooth surface of the palette knife. The sky on here is nice and textured with stroke and coat or foundations over it. And as we showed you before, you can also use a stencil. Use a squeegee, credit card, or a stiff card. Scoop up your sculpting medium and pull it across the stencil. It will fill in the design or the open areas of the stencil, creating a smooth surface when you remove the stencil. Allow the shine to go away from the sculpting medium before you remove the stencil. Don't let it dry too much or the edges will chip. Too wet and the image may move. Look at all the different surface textures created by sculpting medium. If the edges are rough or have chipped, merely use a brush with water and lightly brush stroke over it to smooth out the edges. A nice example of a stencil and sculpting medium with color over it. A writer tip bottle filled with sculpting medium is another way that you can create great dimensional designs on top of your piece. You've seen several examples where the sculpting medium is a different color. We recommend using stroke and coat and a brush and applying 1 and no more than 2 coats over the top of the sculpting medium. That'll allow you to change the color to any color that you want and still maintain that dimensional, lovely look. Another fun dimensional background is using netting to create this. Enjoy all the things you create.